What do you feel about when you say stuff like that?
Yeah, no, it feels good. I mean, the main thing is I have a lot of experience, and hopefully I can show the guys how things are done, and when things do get tough, that hey, it's gonna be okay. Just bounce back, and everything will be fine. He's right. We do have a lot of young guys, and we're counting on a lot of young guys. So it's my job as a quarterback to get them prepared for Saturdays and keep them going when Saturdays do get tough at times. So
You also talked about your maturity level growing just from the last year they had you at SMU to now. How do you feel like you've grown in that area?
again, just experience. I've had some ups and downs. I had some ups and downs last year, and I think in reality it made me a lot better. And I grew as a person, grew as a player, grew as a teammate. So, I feel like I'm in the best place I've ever been in my career. So I'm just excited for the opportunity.
How does this compare?
Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. It's our Wednesday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio, coming to you each and every day here, 1 to 2 p.m. on KDSJ 479. And real quick, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, as this would not be possible: Lindsay and Associates, Locomotion, Corey Beck's Custom Painting, and our newest sponsor, KDK's Chicken Butt. We're not even going to wait. We told you that we had our bus ready to go for the SEC Caravan. We had a trip to make, and it stopped because we got to gas up before we leave this place. It stopped in the plains where we came up with our good buddy, Cheney, the Auburn Beat. What's up, my man?
What's up, Pat? What's good with you?
We just hanging out in a good sunny Wednesday, ready for Razorback football. But you guys got a big one coming up in Arlington and Jerrysville this weekend versus the Oregon Duck. Talk about fall camp and how has that gone for Gus and the Tigers down in the plains?
Right now it's looking pretty good. They named their starting quarterback, Bo Nix, true freshman. So it's a lot of nerve behind it, but I feel like he'll do just fine. A lot of people talk about how he kind of handled it in a high school range. He was at a big high school. And, coming up to college, it shouldn't be too bad of a transition, being in the big spotlight. But it is a good big game, top 25 opponent. So I don't know. I'm hoping that my Auburn side will be able to pull it off this weekend.
Cheney, I wanted to get in depth with how important this game is for Auburn, going forward. They have a tremendous schedule, but more importantly, how big is this game for Coach Gus Malzahn? We've heard for the last year the fan base and even some of the powers that be aren't too settled in with Gus. The new AD that under Gus moved on, here comes a new one. Talk about how big this game is for Gus if he is to lose this game going forward. How hot would that seat be?
I mean, it's a big game with Gus. He hasn't had the typical season that he's been wanting for a couple of years now. So I wouldn't say that they're completely in a rebuilding phase, but definitely not some of the outcomes that they've been looking for in different seasons. But more importantly, for Gus, this is going to be his first year again being a play caller, doing a little bit more on the offensive side. So a lot of eyes going to be on Gus. Like I said earlier, talking about the true freshman being a quarterback, he's going to have to have a lot of insight on what Oregon is coming with in different defensive packages. But he got his work cut out for him, so he's got to do his homework on that end. And just being able to deliver, it's a big, like you said, it's a big game for anybody. For Oregon also, being in the Pac-12. Pac-12 really hasn't had a good showing as a conference as of late. Oregon is kind of in a rebuilding phase. They really haven't had a good season since Mariota left. So it's a big game for both sides, to be honest with you. But more, like you were saying, back to your point with Gus, the higher ups, they are looking at him a little bit with a more tighter knit. They gave him a big contract not too long ago, so he's got to put some butts in the seat, and he got to win some games to do that. So it's definitely a big game for Gus.
Cheney, who are some of the offensive weapons that Gus and the true freshman will lean on? I mean, it seems like each and every year you're always going to have a couple of those receivers. Schwartz comes to mind, a young man that I thought as the season progressed on, he started to show flashes. Who are some of those guys that when we set, for those that aren't going to be in Jerrysville and we watch this game, who are the offensive weapons that we need to keep our eye
on? The Schwartz situation, I'm not completely sure, but he was real big for them last year with third down conversions and just doing different jet sweeps and being like kind of that all around guy that with that Edelman type of feel where you can pretty pretty much put him anywhere on like punt return. You put him in the slot. I mean, really a true all-around guy. But really, to be honest with you, I don't really know weapon-wise, but I would say offensive line is going to be really key. Just given that that true freshman a little bit more of comfort and a little bit more cushion to get the time to get the ball out. Being able to read all his reads and being able to go through all his motions. So I really think that's going to be a key component in them getting the win this weekend. As far as the offensive side, I really haven't heard too much about the different weapons. Like I said, they aren't in a completely rebuilding phase as far as offensive, maybe offensive wise, but defensive wise, they've been stacked for like the past 2 years. I've a number of my sources got them as top 5 defensive line, so I'm looking for a good game. So I'm hoping the Auburn side be able to pull it out. So that's what I'm looking at.
Talking with Chaney, the Auburn beat, for sure on OTH each and every week. He'll be bringing the goings-ons from the Plains and the Auburn Tigers. I want to flip over to defense real quick, Chaney. That side of the ball, we were at SEC Media Day, and I saw Derek Brown and I saw Davis. I mean, these guys are the big-time guys. Cole wasn't there, but when you look at that defensive front, I agree with you. One of the top 5, maybe one of the top 2 or 3. I may go as far as to say the best in the SEC heading into the season. Talk about that side of the ball, and how Oregon has a quarterback that's up for the Heisman. How important is it that Auburn gets that pass rush and can be very disruptive to this big time Duck deep offense to ensure that victory?
Oh yeah, I mean, when you talk about pass rush, that really creates it throws a monkey wrench into the offensive game plan and the scheme and all that. So if they able to get to the quarterback a little bit sooner, they might switch up things and how they want to go about the play calling for the rest of the game. So pass rush is definitely gonna be there. Like you said, they got a good, pretty good quarterback in there. He was in, I believe, did you say he was in a running for the Heisman last year?
Right. He's up as well this year.
We already know what he's gonna do. We already know what he's gonna come about. He's a little bit more experienced, of course, than Auburn's guy. So he knows the offense, and he's gonna be able to get to those sweet spots that he's gonna want to get to. But more importantly, the secondary got a hold of. You can't just have a defensive line if he can be able to get the ball out quick enough. Defensive line not really gonna do too much unless they get some good spots in or disrupting stuff otherwise. But secondary got a hold of it as well. And more so on the Oregon side, it's good to have a good offense, but if you can't put points on the board, that ain't gonna really do too much for you. So
exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my take on that. But yeah, I mean, like you said, if you want to rank on top 1, number 1 defensive line, hey, I'm rolling with you on that one. It sounds good to me.
Got about a minute and a half, and I want to before I let you go, I want to get you to give me an offensive player and a defensive player, and then your final score for this game, Auburn versus Oregon in Jerry's World.
I know we keep going back to the true freshman type of thing, but I really want to see this game for me. I feel like it's gonna be like a true test of where they stand. Being in the big lights for one, that's gonna be pretty tough for them. Seeing how they can handle against that adversity, and then number 2, you never know, man. The quarterback situation might not be working out with Bo Nix, and you might see him get pulled early. You might get a Joey Gatewood starting later on in the first quarter. So that's the 2 things that I'm looking for. Joey Gatewood, if he can get in the game and he can show, if he can show Gus some things that he probably wasn't showing him throughout the practice and throughout the spring and summer training, I feel like that'll be pretty big because that really changes the whole landscape of how they're gonna go about going as offensive teams. And I'm an offensive guy, so I'm gonna keep it on the offensive side. I'm really looking to see what Oregon's quarterback is gonna bring to the table because like you saying, he was in a running for a Heisman last year. So is he gonna live up to the hype? That's one of the things I'm gonna be looking at, and just being able to be a good game manager because it's first game good is gonna be there.
Great.
and you know, it's a big stage. You playing in Jerry's world. This Dallas Cowboys is big money right here. So
Right.
I'm just looking forward to see how both quarterbacks handle the pressure of being under the big lights and the game itself being two top 25 teams. You know what I mean? They really open it up for the best and the good season play that's going to be um, coming up this season in the NCAA. So, and then like I said, the conference as far as conference wise, Pac-12 and SEC, two big notoriety conferences. So they want to put on for their conference, and I'm pretty sure Auburn wants to do the same for the Southeastern. You know, if you can't win out of conference, it's almost like we just shine you. So we putting you to bed. We don't even want to deal with you no more, man.
Absolutely.
So we'll try again next season. So that's my pick right there, man. So I appreciate you having me on the show.
All right.
I don't know if we still got time. We still got a little time.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I do want to shout out to you, man. Appreciate you for calling in. Calling me up. You know, to do the sit down and do the talk with you. But that's what I'm got. That's what we got going. We find out Thursday morning, so we'll be up there with media coverage, and we'll be checking out the vibes and seeing how everything's gonna be going. So,
Hey, Shane, you did a great job, my man. We'll catch up with you same time next week. Listeners, get ready. The Auburn Beat, Cheney, will be on
Yes, sir.
each and every week. But thanks for taking time out on the hill, my man.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Whoa.
That was Cheney, the Auburn Beat. Between the Plains coming on and giving us a great take. I mean, Demetrius, I say he put it down, and he put it down in a great way. I'm really excited to see how this true freshman Patrick Nix is going to go, or Bo Nix, I should say, the son of Patrick Nix. And you have to think, with him being a true freshman, father being a quarterback, a very well-known quarterback down in the plays during his time of collegiate football. I'm curious as to see how the young man will handle it. I mean, you're going into Jerrysville against a very, very potent, I believe, Oregon football team that's coming in with high expectations. Mario Cristobal has really changed the culture there at the University of Oregon, and he's really familiar with the SEC. I think Oregon and Cristobal is going to be trying to make a statement this Saturday. I personally think Gus Malzahn calling plays is the best thing for the University of Auburn. I've always thought in my years of covering him, even when he was high school coach at Shiloh, Springdale, I felt like his play calling was something that was really unmatched. It's kind of hard when he's in a zone to stop his offenses. But I'm going to go with Auburn, a very close one. I think it's going to be a 3-point ball game. But we're going to step away really, really quickly. I think we got more audio. And I think it's, when I check with my producer, we have Sosa again. Sosa's going to talk about where he wants to leave his legacy. Also, to talk a little bit about the defense. And then we'll come back and open up these phone lines. If you have any questions, how are you about the depth chart? Wins and losses. Where are you at in the wins and loss column for the Razorbacks in 2019? What's your biggest game? And, what do you think of Chad and Coach Mo and staff in year 2? Just let us know. You can do so by reaching 601-740-0479. That'll get you in. Back in a moment. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. And you know what I say. Let's get it.
Who's going to be on that defense the whole time,
I feel like last year I was kind of happy. I was like, all right, man, the season's finally here. This year it's kind of more of a sad feeling in the sense like, dang, it's my last one for sure. Like, it's no decision that I have to make at the end of the season. I'm gonna be going regardless. So it's like I'm trying to take everything in and just appreciate it.
Coach, that motivating you more? With being obviously your last season.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's just everything about my legacy. Like, if I get blessed with kids, my kids come back, what they gonna say about me? I don't want them to be like, your father was an average player. I want to leave a legacy. I want to be legendary, so I want to be able to say, your father was a beast. Like, he did this, and that,
What drives themselves?
Basically, my family, my family, my legacy, everything, things like that. Like, I got pride in where I'm from, my city. Not a lot of people make it out of my city. You know what I'm saying? Like, at this point, I'm trying to be the greatest to ever come out of my city. You know what I'm saying? So I got a lot of competition. You got like Michael James, Chuck Carson, things like that. So people like that. So you got to basically just stay on it.
How easy, how much nicer is it for you to know you're going to be playing inside and not to be playing all 4 positions this year?
It's definitely great. I basically came into spring, fall camp. When I came back, I knew I was going to be straight inside. So it was great to just finally be a piece and not a piece that was like, okay, if he's developed or if he doesn't get hurt, you're going to play here. So it was great to be a priority.
You feel like you're a pretty established player already
Yes, sir.
in the SEC, but do you feel like you have things to prove?
Yeah, most definitely. I feel like I have a lot of things to prove, but I feel like my team especially has a lot of things to prove. We just came off a 2-10 season. We know we were definitely better than the 2-10 season, but that's what the record showed. That's what everybody gonna see. Film don't lie, the eye in the sky don't lie. So that's what we put on tape, and it's time to basically erase it. You know, it's time to basically start all over, start anew.
Coach Chavis said yesterday that you guys will either be as good or better as last season. What you've seen this fall camp, do you think you'll be as good or better?
I actually feel like we're going to be better. I feel like the way we've been clicking on defense, on offense, I feel like it's going to definitely be better. I feel like we definitely going to be, like, 2-10 is not even in my mind.
Sorry, you meant the defensive front, not
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yes,
my bad.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am, I feel like we're going to be pretty good. You got T.J. Smith, you got me, you got Dorian Gerald, who's come back even better. You got Gabe Richardson, and you got Jamario Bell. So those are all seniors that I just named. So just senior, it's hard to replace senior leadership. So you got all these seniors. We didn't have that many seniors coming. We didn't have that many seniors on the D-line. I think we had like 3. So now we got like 5, 6 seniors on the D-line. So that senior leadership is just something that's going to be able to be translated over into Saturdays.
What kind of steps have you seen TJ take this year?
Tremendous steps. He dropped from like 315 to like 285. So like TJ, he, like this summer, he basically just put a lot of work into his body, make sure his nutrition was right, make sure he was getting the right amount of sleep, recovery, things like that. And I think he's ready to have a big season in the SEC.
That was Sosa again, senior defensive tackle. And I mean, Sosa, you know, Demetrius, when I bring in my co-host, listening to Sosa again, and he's been available to us multiple times throughout fall camp and heading into this Portland State ball game. And Demetrius, it even goes back for you and I to SEC Media Day. You know, I've had a chance, and we've covered this young man for quite the 3 years that he's been on campus. Never, you know, a lot of people felt like he never really has gotten to the expectation level that, you know, being ranked 9th, a 5-star young man out of the state of Arkansas, he's supposed to get to. But I, you know, watching camp, I see a young man, and going through media, I see a young man that's very focused, dialed in, and the camp that I've seen him have out on that football field elevates what we came back and the way we felt when we left Hoover, Demetrius.
Definitely, you know, I see a big maturity growth in Sosa. He was one of those guys that he really wasn't a big talker. You know, when we first got to kind of interviewing him amongst the players' interviews, he really wasn't a big talker. But now I really just have really listened to him and saw how he's grown as even a speaker and just a leader on the team. So I'm really happy for Sosa, hometown kid. I think he's going to have a tremendous season.
I mean, the guy was talking about it, and, you know, he had the same interview with us. And for those that didn't get a chance to catch our SEC Media Day interviews, and you like to go back and take a walk back and get yourself prepared with multiple interviews, you can catch it on our YouTube page. You can also catch that on our Facebook page. But
let me add on to Spotify. We will be having the show on Spotify this year. So if you can't get on the Pandora, you can't get it on iHeart, we will have it on Spotify and all media platforms.
I told you. We started this early in the year. We said we had some new things going on. We're only continuing to come up out of the mud, as they say, Demetrius. Coming out of the mud. You know, but as I was going back to Sosa, you know, Sosa talks about legacy. Talks about being the first Flair in his hometown and make it out. I mean, and I think you as you say, you start to see the maturation process, and kids understand it. I think when I talk to a lot of these seniors on this football team, they understand that this will be the last. You know, you're only gonna have like 7 more times to run out of that 8 in the state of Arkansas, and you know they're starting to gravitate, and the realness is hitting them. And you know, I watched these seniors, and I watched, like I said, in fall camp, the best fall camp I've seen a group of seniors lead since that year in 2014 when they beat Texas. You know, the Spate, Trey Flowers class. That was a class that had leaders that went through a lot of hardships, but came to their senior year and just decided, hey, we're going to leave it better than we found it when we got here. And I think that's what this senior class is trying to do. I mean, in year 2 of Coach Morris, I think they're building a foundation. They all talk about the buy-in, and it's kind of sometimes when you're around one senior in the interview room and not another, it's like they're in that, you know, they're in sync so much that they kind of can finish each other's statements.
I want to know. I got a question for you. Who's going to be the unsung hero for this year? Who's going to be that player that nobody's really talking about? They may have a name for themselves, but they're not being talked amongst like the Sosa Gaines, like the Cheyenne O'Grady's, like the Ben Hicks. Who's flying under the radar to have a great year?
I think T.J. Smith is a guy, young man who won the first inaugural Royals Award. T.J.'s a guy coming out of a great program there in Moultrie High School in Moultrie, Georgia. Was coached by a great coach, but also, too, he's went through some hardships, played a lot of football. I think he's going to have a great senior year. Another guy that I see flying under the radar, and I've been a big fan. And he's kind of had a checkered career here at the university, not off the field incidents, but just not being able to find a home. That's Jamario Bell.
I knew you were going to say him. I had a feeling you were going to say
I'm a big
Jamario.
Jamario guy. I think, he made strides last year, but I think having Coach Caldwell be with Jamario for 2 years and the way that he's pushing him and the belief that he has in him, I think Jamario's going to be one of those guys. This was a guy that came out highly recruited by Alabama's, LSU's, 4-star. I mean, he was highly thought of, and if he can live up to that, you know, billing, I think, and Sosa said it best, the seniors. We all know in the SEC, it's a junior senior team. It's a junior senior line. When you got those older guys, you can see the difference as the third and fourth quarter they wane on. You can see kind of the togetherness, and we've been there before. This is not anything that we've not done, and I think that's what this team is going to be. This team and the defensive line, this team's only going to go as far as they can take it. If Arkansas can be very disruptive in that line of scrimmage and get after the quarterback, I think they have good enough secondary. It's young, but I think they're talented enough on their back end to stop a lot of the long chunk plays. I think having Scooter Harris, another senior there in the middle, you know, and Demetrius, you've heard me multiple times. If you're solid up the middle, I'm of the firm belief you're going to be a solid defense. And I'll take TJ, Scooter, Sosa, Joe Fouché, and Cameron Curl up my middle any day of the week on the defensive team at Arkansas. And I like my chances.
So going into this first game, what are you really looking for out of the team? Like if you had a report card and you said these are the things we have to do to get a passing grade, what is it? What does Arkansas have to do to get that passing grade going against Portland State?
I think Arkansas has to show that they can run the ball. I think offensive line has to show a big-time step from where they've been the last couple of years, and I think they will. I think, you know, with the loss of weight, the new weight program, and the buy-in, I think Coach Dustin Fry is an offensive line coach that we will be talking about as one of the better, if not, one of the top as the years progress on here at Arkansas. You'll see the development in that offensive line. I think also, too, I think Arkansas is going to have to be able to throw the ball. When it's 3rd and 8, you know that you're going to throw the ball. I think you got to have those young guys making plays. I think Ben Hicks, Nick Starkel, the biggest thing to me, they have to learn to be a manager of the game. Don't try to be the hero. When you have Cheyenne O'Grady's and you have the Grayson Gunners and you have the Chase Harold at the tight end and you have the receivers being as young as they are with just one junior that's going to be playing this Saturday, with that being Davion Warren. You know, Mike Woods hadn't played a lot of football, but this is a guy I think is born to be a playmaker. I'm expecting big things out of Traylon Burks, out of Trey Knox, out of Tyson Morris, out of Corlin Jackson. You have TQ Jackson, guys that are going to learn. So I think that's all going to come down to really Nick Starkel and Ben Hicks and their maturity, making sure these younger guys understand where they're supposed to be. There's going to be some guys in the starting offensive line that haven't started, making sure they're lined up properly. It's going to be a real big adrenaline rush in game one. In particular, I think for the first 3 or 4 series, there's going to be some uneasiness. I think the fan base, as you know, here in Arkansas, Demetrius, they'll get a little restless. But I think as the game progresses on, the big thing that I'm going to see defensively is that defensive line. Sosa, Gabe Richardson, Dorian Gerald, if he lives up to be that top junior college defensive end, TJ, John Marshall, Isaiah Nichols, and really that freshman, I really am high on Mr. Soley. I think this guy, Mateus Soley, you've heard me say it, I'll continue to say it. I think this guy could go down as one of the top 2 or 3 defensive ends to ever play the game here at the University of Arkansas.
I wasn't sure, did Bubba make that too deep?
Bubba's not in too deep. Bubba's third, but I can see Bubba. I think you'll see Bubba. I think they'll rotate Bubba, TJ.
I can
John
see him
Marshall.
being in the goal line package, man. He's too big not to get on that field, especially in goal line situations.
I think you'll see Colin Clay, another true freshman at the defensive end. I think Arkansas is going to rotate about 10 to 12 guys, with that being a combination of the ends and tackles along that defensive line, which is going to create a lot of depth, a lot of rest. Fresh bodies at particular times when maybe you might need it. Gabe goes 3 or 4 plays on the goal line where here comes Matea. And you're going to rotate a lot of youth. These guys, to me, Demetrius, I mean, we're talking about a 2-10 team, but you got 52 guys that don't know they're not supposed to be good. That don't know this year there's no expectations. All they see is a new culture, a buy-in, a year into the system, and they're trying to change things, and it starts with the seniors at the top. And I'll continue to say it. The senior leadership that I've seen during my time this year of covering this football team has been the best that I've seen in a while, and I think it's going to pay dividends on the football field. I really do.
No, I do too as well. I'm really excited because I think talking season is over. And I was talking to a guy yesterday, and a really good friend of mine, and he was talking about Chad always talking about being where your feet are. Right. He said that is the key to this year. Guys understanding, not trying to be Superman. I know you just talked about Ben Hicks and Nick Starkle not trying to do too much, but I think that's a code for everyone. I think everyone just has to focus on their job, do their job, and stay in the means of what they know they can do and not try to be that Superman and not try to be self, because I think that was where the defense really messed up last year. Everybody wanted the stats. Everybody wanted the highlight play. Everybody wanted the forced turnover, forced fumble, and instead of sound tackling, we stripping and we're in the middle of the field. So I think if everybody can play selfless football and again be where their feet are, I'm really, really, really excited. I know you mentioned earlier how Dylan Mosley got hurt at Alabama, and I'm just looking how dominoes are falling in the right direction for Arkansas to potentially upset some of these teams. And I'm not saying right now Arkansas is in the driving seat to beat Alabama just because Dylan Mosley is out. But I'm just forecasting that potential of, that the rigorous of the SEC conference. It's going to be more guys that get hurt. And I just think if Arkansas can just string together some games and get that confidence and get that swag and come out 4-0, I think that's the key. Coming out 4-0 and coming out hot going into that A&M game, I think Arkansas can do something really special. I don't think we've really been in this position since about Petrino.
I agree with you. And another person, my surprise overall player of this year is going to be Andrew Parker, the redshirt freshman linebacker out of the New Orleans area. It may not be on too deep, but look out for number 28. I think this kid, as the season wears on, is going to be a major contributor to that Razorback defense. But I know a guy that's a real major contributor, that's a selfless football player, and whom I consider, because I'm always who's the best. He's the best linebacker in the SEC. We caught up with Scooter, and here's what Scooter had to say. Talks about the defense and really talks about Ben Hicks and how he felt he earned it, because you got to earn everything. Ain't that what Chad says? We'll let you hear Scooter, and then we'll be back with much, much more. If you want to chime in, you can do so at 601-7400, area code 479. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479.
Overall,
Let's get it.
I feel like we came out there with high energy, a great game plan we executed today. So I feel like today was a good day for the first day.
Why will you guys be a better team this year?
I think it's just the commitment and the buy-in to the program that we did this offseason. It's just a difference. We got a point to prove as a whole program. So I feel like that's kind of why we'll be a better team in year 2 than year 1.
What do you see out of Portland State? What do they like to do on offense?
89, the tight end, really good players. They best player. They like to get him the ball as much as they can. They got some very good, decent running backs. So they run the option a lot with those guys. But they're kind of balanced, throughout. I think they run the ball more than they pass, though.
What about the quarterback?
The quarterback's number 10 is the backup, but he started, I think, 11 games last year. He's more of a runner, but number 6 was the starter that finished off last year. He's more of a passer.
Are there any comparable teams to you that you guys have played that run the option like they do?
I feel like Portland State, Coastal Carolina, my sophomore year, we kind of compare those two teams together. But Portland State don't run the option that much. You know, they kind of stick with doubles and trips most of the time.
Yeah, you decided to come back for your senior year. The season's finally here. Feel like you're just going to go try to prove yourself again, or what's the goal?
I mean, the goal is the same thing as every year. Just go out there, you know, just do what I do. You know, just do anything that it takes to make this team better. Just to keep on winning games, or try to win more games than we won last year. Basically.
Ben Hicks got named. It looked like you kind of threw your support behind him yesterday. What were your thoughts there?
I feel like he earned it. Well, he did earn the spot. Obviously, that he got the starting spot. But like I said, I just feel like he took, you know, tremendous strides in fall camp than he did in spring ball. And it's probably because I wasn't there in spring ball to see him. But like I said, when we got basically all the guys in for the summer going into fall camp, I just felt like that he'll take a bigger step, and he did that, and he earned the spot.
Coach James said you guys are running more base, 4-3 stuff against these guys, but they'll also, you know, line up in what looks like a goal line sometimes, and then be, you know, 5 wide.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be in base probably the first 3 weeks this year. You know, just to get, you know, Hayden and Dion, you know, those guys out there to get them more reps before we get into SEC play. But yeah, Chief is right. You never know what this group's going to do. They get into 32 and pass the ball and then run the ball on, I guess, 2nd and 12. So you, like Chief said, you never know what they're going to do.
And you got to meet turn.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. It's on the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. It's our Wednesday edition of OTAs coming to you live here on KDSJ 479. And real quick, I want to give a shout out to the people and the sponsors that make this possible. Lindsay and Associates with an office location in Fayetteville, an office location also too in Rogers. Locomotion, it's located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall. Corey Beck's Custom Painting. You want it to look good, residential, commercial. I mean, he made us look good. I've never been more pleased with the project. Call Corey Beck's Custom Painting, and I'm pretty sure you'll be just as happy as I was. And lastly, the new sponsor and the fire sponsor, KDK's Chicken, located at 989 South Razorback Road. And like they say, Demetrius, it's not your mama's. It's the best chicken in the South, best waffles, mac and cheese, you name it. KDK's Chicken. Go check them out. Go see Kathy and the gang. And I bet you'll definitely be back when you do. But that's KDK's Chicken at 989 South Razorback Road. But coming back in, we let you hear from senior inside linebacker, all SEC linebacker, Scooter Harris. Scooter talked about, you know, how they felt. Grant Morgan, you know, just the belief in the linebacker core. Guys have played a lot of football, Demetrius, a lot of football. I mean, you look at Hayden Henry, you look at Grant Morgan, you look at Bumper Pool, you look at you look at Pluck McClure. True, they may not be big in stature, but they've got a lot of SEC, a lot of collegiate football miles, and been in a lot of situations. And even with being juniors, Demetrius, these are guys that have senior mentality. You talk about Pluck. Pluck's a guy that played pro baseball, a little bit more mature than the group. And I think that's what you're going to see at that linebacker core, the maturity. Guys, you know, 5th-year senior, 4th-year juniors, and Deion Edwards. I mean, you see a guy that's just been itching to play. So you're going to see a lot of depth in this football team. I mean, maybe not the depth that some people want, the 4 or 5 star, but I think depth enough that these kids, and I continue to say it, they played a lot of football. They've been through the wins and the losses. They've been through the hard times. But they're also in the buy-in process, and they're starting to see the way this could go into possibilities. And I can tell all of them have bought in. You can tell by the way they practice. You know, all those things going in. But the position I want to get to now, Demetrius, and I think this is going to be a position that over the years we're going to look back and we're going to be watching several of these guys play on Sundays. You know, you talk about the traditional Jordan Jones, but you talk about Mike Woods. You talk about Traylon Burks. You talk about Trey Knox. You talk about Enoch. I mean, you talk about Coylin Jackson. You talk about TQ Jackson. You talk about those guys, Demetrius. Let's get off into that group. Out of the guys that I mentioned, Tyson Morris, you know, the rotation, which 2 or 3 of those guys do you see really making plays in the early stages of their career that could catapult them to, you know, some pretty legacy type things here at the University of Arkansas?
I think Mike Woods. I think what's going to make Mike Woods so great is the people around him.
Right.
When you got Traylon Burks and you got Trey Knox, 2'6", sub 4'4" guys on the outskirts, and you're potentially the slot, I'm assuming, or that X, you're going to have a mismatch.
How many kids do you know, Demetrius, that come in as freshman wide receivers?
I don't.
6'3",
right.
225 pounds.
It's Greg Childs. He's probably one of the few, and he probably was probably a $180.
Hence from Warren, Arkansas.
From Warren, Arkansas.
I mean, what is it? You're talking about Jarius, Greg, Traylon, Childs. What is in the water with the Lumberjack program?
And they actually had more because, they had that one class where that went
Brett Smith went to Tennessee.
Went to Tennessee. That's exactly what
Rashawn Fellows went to Tennessee.
So they had it's some athletes down there in Warren.
Yes.
But, like I said, I think it's a blessing for Mike Woods because he has the ability to be that middle tier mismatch. Right. He's a guy that has sub 4.4 speed, and when you have two guys that can for sure take off the top, it's gonna be a mismatch somewhere. And not to go along with Rakeem Boyd. Right. When you got Rakeem Boyd in the backfield, that means they're gonna have to respect the box. They're gonna have to put a man on top for Trey or Traylon. So Mike is probably going to be one-on-one majority of the time.
Or try this one for size. Number 85. We all know who number 85 is.
Cheyenne O'Grady.
How beneficial could this be with the weapons on the outside for Cheyenne in between those seams? Because we all know Coach Morris and that staff, they like to throw it to the tight end.
See, I'm expecting Chad to put some points up this year.
Right.
I'm expecting the game to be out of hand and Chad still running the scoreboard up. Like, that's what I want to see. Like, I don't care if we beat Portland this weekend by 40. I want to see a blowout. We need to get that hunger, savage mentality right now. We can't say, oh well, we want to make the game respectable. Nah, we don't have time for that. I think we need to be tightening bolts and making sure this is a well-oiled machine once we get into that Ole Miss game. And that's why I say I'm expecting Chad Morris. That's why I say I'm really looking. Majority of this game, I'm not even watching the players. I'm not watching the players. I'm watching the coaches. I'm trying to see how are they going to call these games. I'm not expecting them to pull all the tricks out of their hats, calling offensive plays and trick plays and just pulling every trick out of their hat. But I am expecting execution, and I am expecting some big plays from the air raid and as well as the run game.
Well, we talk about the air raid. We talk about the big plays, and we caught up with Mike Woods. He talked about just how excited he is heading into his sophomore year. And let's hear what Mike had to say, and then we'll come back and we'll wrap this thing up. Here's Mike, and we'll be right back. Let's get it.
Playing football, I'm ready to go.
Mike, how far has this team come in 1 year?
Oh, we came a long way. Big coaching change, a whole lot of new faces. So we came a long way, and we just ready to go put it all out on the field on Saturday.
How much better can you guys be this season?
We can be a lot better. I don't want to say too much. I don't want to jinx it, but we can just know.
I think Tom brought this up yesterday against with Morris, but you look at the depth chart right now, and it's a brand new 11 for the offense that did not start a year ago in that first game. Just how crazy is that to think about just a year ago?
Yeah, like I said, a lot of change, a lot of good change. So, like I said, we just ready to go put the final product out there on Saturday.
How impressed are you with those younger receivers and what they've been able to kind of come in and do?
They've been looking real good. They came in like a bunch of sponges. They've been soaking it all up, getting in the playbook, all that extra stuff. So it's been real good from them.
Speak on the senior leadership, how those guys have led you guys and with the new buy-in and just the urgency in different cultures.
Yeah,
speak on
like I said, it's big culture change. A lot of people are pulling in the same direction now. Ben was a big part of that. He came in, kind of took command of the offensive side. So, like I said, we're all pulling in the right direction now. So,
what was the reaction in the receiver room when you heard the news that Ben was the starting quarterback?
Let's go, let's ride. I'm ready, so we ready. So that's it.
Did you meet Ben when you were taking your visits and stuff to SMU? Mm-hmm. Did you guys have a previous relationship?
Yeah, we talked a little bit, but it was just like player recruit type talk. So yeah, we talked a little bit.
What have you seen from the Portland State secondary?
A lot of man coverage, especially when you get into the red zone. A lot of one high safety. So
things we could take advantage of for sure.
That's exciting.
Yeah, a lot of things we could take advantage of, especially with our size this year. So we're excited.
Now, you're talking about the freshman receivers. Have those guys surprised you at all? They're pretty early coming in, but have they surprised you how well they've done?
Nah, definitely. Like I said, they've been doing all the extra stuff that we asked them to do as far as playbook, recovery, nutrition, all that kind of stuff. So nothing surprised me. I already knew what they were going to do. So.
Are you anxious to see how those guys do in a game?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I told them it's just going to be another game. It should just be another game. Try not to think too much of it. So it'll be exciting to see how they do.
Welcome back. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins, Sports Talk Radio, coming to you each and every day here live, Monday through Friday from 1 to 2 p.m. on KDSJ 479. And that was audio from sophomore starting wide receiver Mike Woods. He is going to be a factor, Demetrius. You know, Mike showed flashes, and it goes back to the Texas A&M game, the touchdown he caught in the latter part of the fourth quarter. I believe it could have been overtime. You saw some things with Mike Woods. He just seemed to be a different gear faster than some of the wide receivers that Arkansas played last year and that have played in the past during this very rough time of college football here in Fayetteville. Also, too, Cheyenne O'Grady may play, may not play on Saturday, but I feel like if Cheyenne plays, that's just going to enhance the playbook, because when you have a guy that's up for the top tight end award in all the college football, and he's a proven SEC football player. Caught, I believe, 30 passes for a little over 400 yards, 6 touchdowns his junior year. And this is a young man that, if he can come off the slight meniscus injury, had a little, an operation that I think cleared up the problem. If Cheyenne comes back 100%, man, oh man, I'm telling you how this offense can be. But I think for the early part of this year, I know Chad had told us there's about 70% of the offense in. I anticipate to see a big difference, and I'm pretty sure the fans that make their way to WRS will see the same thing. But I think the big thing that's going to jump out is the speed of this football team, top to bottom. The playmaking ability, the ability to be able to catch on a kick return or punt return and make something happen. I think the punt team, the punt team with Sam Loy and Reed Bauer. I think the kicking with Connor Limpert. I think you'll see a better overall football team than what you've seen since 2014. More since 2015, the Brandon Allen, Alex Collins team that won there in the Independence Bowl or Liberty Bowl there in Memphis. But I think top to bottom, you're going to see a very, very, very nice football team on Saturday. I think Joe Fouché, you're going to start to see growth in all of these players from what you had seen the previous 2 years. And I want everybody to do this for me. When you get to the stadium and you see big number 78 run out on the football field, that's Dalton Wagner. You're going to take a double take, but I want you to think about how Dalton looked his true freshman and his red shirt that red shirt year, but more so his true freshman year. And even last year, Dalton Wagner has put in more time to transform his body to be an SEC offensive lineman that to this point can go out there and start on this Saturday. And that just goes to show the commitment that he made. And I think that's a commitment that all these offensive linemen have made. They've been very, very much maligned throughout the years. During Kurt Anderson, I didn't think that was a very good situation. And it proved that it was a very tumultuous couple of, 2 years, and didn't recruit at a level on the offensive line that you have to recruit at. I think, and Dustin and the staff, they understand that there's still work yet to be done at that line of scrimmage, and I can see the progression. I can see the progression at a lot of different places. I, for one, think Arkansas wins this game. I'm not going to give my prediction. I'm not going to give it. That's in a few more days on what's that segment we call it, D? BA? Well, we'll give our predictions a lot more, but this is going to wrap up today's show. We'll be back tomorrow with Adam Sparks to give us that Vanderbilt, Georgia update. And also, too, Blake Topmeyer. He's going to talk Tennessee. We'll find out more. Our caravan's about to leave, and we're going to head up to Duval country. We got to get on up to Rocky Top. What do they call the state of Tennessee? What is that state? Well, we're heading there, and we'll be there, and you'll be with us tomorrow. That's going to do it. Giving thanks to all of our sponsors and our guests. Cheney, the Auburn Beat, for us here on the Hill. To our sponsors, Lindsay & Associates, with an office location in Fayetteville, an office location also, too, in Rogers. Locomotion, located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall in Fayetteville, Corey Beck's Custom Painting, and lastly, our newest and great sponsor. I'm talking about good sponsor, KDK's Chicken, located at 989 South Razorback Road in Fayetteville. For my producer, Demetrius, and myself, and to you all, you guys have a blessed one. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Let's get it.
Team God.